friends? Cubs fan Han here for another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video, and I'm super excited for this one today, my friends, because last week we had an awesome video talking with some of the uber krakens of Galaxy of Heroes, talking about Galactic Legends and their thoughts on the state of the game. Today, we're going to do the same thing again, backed by popular demand from the community. You guys really wanted to see this again, only this time we're going to do it slightly different. Instead of just bringing in a bunch of heavy spenders, we're bringing in the spectrum. We have got, and I'm gonna introduce these guys to you guys right now. We have got the free to play. We have got the dolphin. We've got the whale, and we have got, my friends, the uber kraken. We will release the kraken on this chat. So let's introduce these guys, and we'll talk about how much they've spent, so you can kind of get a feel for where they're at on the spectrum. So starting with the baby in the chat, we've changed their Discord profiles to match where they're at on the spending spectrum. So the baby here, the free to play, Zach EOD. How much have you spent on the game, Zach?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. Not even a cent. Not even a $1 crystal pack. Nothing.
Time and bourbon.
What time? Okay, so he spent bourbon on the game, but zero dinero. All right, let's move to the next one. We have got Greedon in the chat. Greedon, you are our resident dolphin. How much have you spent on the game?
So all in this over the course of about 4 years, I rounded it to make it easy for everybody. We're actually at about $1,200.
$1,200. All right, and believe it or not, so that is right about, if I were to add up everything I've ever spent on the game lifetime, I'm probably about where you're at as well. Even though I have taken a free-to-play pledge, I'm probably about in the same line. So you and me will relate, I think, quite a bit, even though I'm not spending anymore. Okay, then we've got a whale in the chat. We've got a pretty big jump from the dolphin to the whale here. Ram Bam has the whale profile picture free. Really? How much have you spent on the game?
About 36,000.
Woo! Okay, so that was kind of in line with where those guys were at that were on my last video. And now it is time, my friends, to release the Kraken. We have got Quaid in the chat. Quaid, how much have you spent on Galaxy of Heroes?
What's up? Hello, everybody. I've spent, I've been playing since launch, and I've spent over 90K.
Woo! Didn't you said you were kind of nearing 100K, right?
I'm getting close, yeah.
He's getting close. So 90K, close to 100K. So we have got the resident Kraken, and he has been released on the chat, my friends. All right, so I just want to start this conversation. We want to focus on Galactic Legends to start with, and then we'll talk about the game in general here and just have a conversation. I think it's going to be really interesting to see where everyone is at, and I have encouraged these guys to be respectful to each other, but very raw about how they feel, because there can sometimes be feelings between these camps of people. So we might have a little bit of Jerry Springer action going on here. I don't know what's it. I don't think it's gonna get that bad. But also we're gonna be unfiltered in, this usually channel's G-rated. This might not be G-rated. Hope you guys are okay with that. And so I'm just gonna do an open-ended question. Whoever wants to jump in first, go ahead. How do you guys feel about the Galactic Legends requirements? Let's start more towards the low spending free-to-play spectrum.
Right, so I think they're absolutely appropriate. I think that they're hard, and they're going to be hard to get to. But if we look back 3 years, CLS was hard to get to when he first came out. And if there's nothing to work for in the game, then there's no point in playing it. So I think that they're absolutely appropriately placed.
Absolutely appropriate from Greedon, and that's our dolphin, about $1,200 spent. Zach, what do you think?
Was Zach.
That was me. That was my.
Oh, that was you. I thought I saw Greedon. Okay. Greedon, let's get your take then.
I'm a little annoyed, not so much about like it being difficult. Like I'm always down to have a challenge to unlock something. I just wish we could attempt without having to have a Relic 7 or a Relic 5, or at least be able to attempt it. I've always found that fun too. That challenge of being able to unlock the event with maybe some subpar stuff. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
I'm a little annoyed by that aspect, but I do think, given the state of the game and how relics have changed it, I can understand how hard they're making it to unlock these Galactic Legends. It just tells us how insane the characters are going to be. So,
do you guys in this camp, so Dolphin and Baby, do you guys feel like you're ever going to get these characters? How long do you think it's going to take?
I'm banking on, like, I started my Hoard as soon as they announced it, so I'm in about what are we now, like 2 months in?
Yeah.
I haven't leveled almost anybody. I pretty much stopped everything, just because as soon as they mentioned that, I was like, every single thing before has been the next most insane meta, and so I was
Right.
like, these Galactic Legends are going to be just nuts, and so I dropped everything and I've started hoarding. So I'm still hoping for about 3 to 6 months,
Okay.
maybe.
Okay. 3 to 6 months. Zach, what about
Yeah,
you?
I mean, I'm looking about the same thing, probably about 6 months. But I think on a different note, the only thing that I'm a little annoyed at with the requirements is the useless characters it's going to take to get them. Right. So everyone talks about JTR and Vet Han and Vet Chewie. Like you got to get them to 7 stars to unlock JTR, and they are
Right.
completely useless after you
Yeah,
get
once
them.
you're there, what do you do? Who's using their vets right now? Who's using them?
Right. So no one. So it's super annoying that I got to take my Resistance pilot and his ship possibly. I got to level them up, and they're going to be completely useless. While they may get me an amazing character, they're going to waste my resources to get them, and then I'm never going to be able to use them again afterwards.
So
I
kind of
think,
an interesting thing about that. That seems to be the common criticism I'm hearing from the heavy spending camp, at least the people in the last video we did last week. That was probably the main criticism that they had, is from a personal perspective, is characters like Resistant Pilot, they did not want to level up. So Ram Bam and Quaid, you're the whale and Kraken in the chat. Is that how you're feeling about this too? You're kind of okay with the requirements, just maybe the character selection?
So if you don't mind, I'll take this one. I have a couple things to say about this. Right. So the requirements, while steep, right? There's something I expect from a game that's this old and is a Star Wars IP.
Right.
It's not completely user or overall player base friendly, right? They're not catering, and they're not even trying to hide it. They're not catering to the free to plays or the Dolphins. No, this is completely whale and Kraken territory, right?
Right.
You're not going to get these within day one, week one. But the second thing where CG went wrong with this, right? Their rollout with this is the whole, hey, I promise that not all are going to require relics.
Right.
Oh, after internal review, hey, we're all going to require relics.
Yeah.
I get it.
So that
they're doing what's best for
just that random reversal of stance on that is what you're most upset about.
That's where they rubbed me wrong, and I think they rubbed a lot of the community wrong, right?
Agreed.
And I get it. Yeah. They did what's best for business. It's nothing different than what Apple, Sony, Microsoft have done. They've all done things like that too. But they're catering to a very small group.
Quaid, what are your thoughts?
So, I mean, I like the requirements. I like the fact that there's a goal out there. They're setting these markers in order to get these tunes, these characters. I do like that because actually, most of the time I have nothing to do. I mean, if you go to .gg and look at my roster, I have Relic 4 Jawas. So yeah, I mean,
$96,000 or so will get you Relic 4 Jawas. Sure. All right, you heard it here.
Now here's the thing about this these galactic requirements. Even a Kraken like myself may not get Galactic Ray and Galactic Kylo on the first day or the first week. If they do like they did with Gas, where you could only do a 5-star unlock, or it's something similar. There's these, I read a post today where they're going to have these tickets in order to do the event. Well, you could have all the requirements and you don't have any damn tickets. So, or you have a ticket to do the event and you spend that ticket and you do the event and you fail and you don't get any shards of the characters, but your ticket's spent. So I don't know how this is going to go.
And that's something I was going to ask, is how the group is feeling about the ticket announcement, which seems to be very vague for now, kind of hard to gauge exactly what that's going to look like. But it sounds like from the Kraken camp, pretty hesitant, or you got some reservations about what that may look like.
Sure. I mean, the Malik and the Gas event, almost all the money I've spent in this game was 16, 17, and 18. 19 last year, I reduced a lot of that spending. And this year, I've only spent about $400 so far
So
this year.
was that a calculated, maybe I've just got everything I don't really need to spend, or was that in response to something CG has done, or what was kind of the logic in the reduction of spending there for you?
Well, a lot of things. But the biggest was the Malik event and the gas event.
Okay.
5-star unlocks don't make me want to spend money.
Mm,
So I mean, that's just a fact. Like,
sure.
um, I could have, as a Kraken, I could have not gotten gas the first time around,
Hmm.
and just waited because I didn't have the currency saved up to get one.
Because you didn't
So
hoard your brains out.
I didn't hoard. Yeah, I don't hoard. That's another thing too. I don't hoard anything.
Yeah.
Any gear I have, it goes on tunes, it goes on characters. Uh, there's
Sensible.
yeah.
No.
So if they're going to do something like that again, that's fine. I think that the game needs to be healthy for all players,
Right.
because otherwise you've got a bunch of Krakens and whales. You got basically 500 people in the game, and that's it. And that's not a fun game. That's not a healthy game.
So this kind of leads into the next question that I've got, and this is something that we discussed on the last video, but kind of moving more general towards the game, because it sounds like this decision to spend less has been in response to how some of these new character rollouts have been handled. So I'll leave it open-ended for whoever wants to tackle this. How do you guys collectively feel about the state of the game, and what do you think are the biggest items that should change?
I can go first. So the state of the game is good. It's a good game. Otherwise, I wouldn't be playing it. But there are things that need to change. I don't think these things are going to change because from day one, CG's communication to its player base has been horrific. And there's been these little sparks where you're like, oh, they might be getting better. And then they quickly revert back to terrible communication. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing I think needs to change. But other than that, I mean, the game is good, honestly. I mean, except for like the bugs, like every once in a while you'll have your buttons disappear, which I think is pretty cheap. And for as much money as the game is making, it could run a lot smoother than that.
What do the other guys in the chat think?
Right, so I agree a lot. I think the state of the game is pretty good at this point, but I do agree that there's a lot of little stuff that I think for a $1 billion income game,
Yep, 1 billion
is absolutely astronomically insane. That there's still, Asajj freezes when she does her AOE, and
she does.
And that's been going on for like 3 years, like 4 years. Like it's like little stuff like that. I mean, it doesn't affect the gameplay, but buttons disappearing, that affects people's GAC. There's little stuff in there that if you looked at any other industry that was making $1 billion, to have something like that still going on is a little insane to me. That's still happening. But I think overall, to give a little bit of credit to them, I think that their game it's still in a good spot and it's still going forward. But I think that maybe their focuses they need to focus a little bit on fixing the problems that have been there for years.
So I'm curious, and I'm curious about both camps. Maybe we'll start with the free to play. What would CG do? What could they theoretically do, or what could happen in this game that would cause you to either boycott or quit? Maybe quit for the free to play low spenders, or decide to cease spending / quit entirely for the whales. What would they need to do to earn that, in your opinion?
So if you want to stop with, go ahead.
Okay. I was just gonna say I sit on this kind of fence with payment, right? Like going through how much I've given towards the game. Yeah. Most of my payments are like $4 here, $10 here.
Microtransactions.
Like I've never fully just like gone all out for a character. Yeah. And so I normally just kind of spend like, I want to get this character up a gear level. It'd be fun right before GAC lock or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting to the point where it's barely worth it for me to give anything on kind of like a return of investment sort of, term there, because me getting one gear piece, me spending $5, $10, $20 on a gear piece, which nowadays. Unfortunately, it costs about that much to get
Yeah.
one character and one gear
Oh,
piece.
man.
Do I get any return from that? It's like, no. Like,
Yeah.
I get such little return. So for me, it's not so much
You
about
buy a
quitting the
day
game.
or 2 days worth of farming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's not so much about like quitting the game. It's more about quitting spending. I love Star Wars. I've been playing this literally for 4 years, almost daily.
Yeah.
I love the game. I love Star Wars. Like, I'm going to be playing for a long time. As long as the game's there, I'll probably
you're probably
be
in here for the long haul. There's just a question for you, Greedon, of worth for spending. You're comfortable spending, but you just, with the lower amount of spending, you don't really see the value. And that is where I was at, and kind of where I got with spending, and why I decided to stop spending on my main account is I just didn't see the value very much, and it started stressing me out more because I felt more of an emotional connection to how I was doing in the game. Zach, what about you? So you don't spend. So for you, it's either play or don't play. Have you considered quitting before? Is there something that could happen in the game that would be the final straw for you that would cause you to leave the game? Or are you kind of like Greedon here, where it's Star Wars, you love the game, you're here for the long haul?
Right. So there's two major things, and the two big things are, one is the community, and the
yes.
the
Oh yeah,
the
100%.
communication and the community of people, and the just everything about the community is amazing. So
Agreed.
if that's gonna stop, then I'm gonna stop. If the majority of people that I talk to and that I hang out with and talk to on Discord and like that, if they stop playing, I'm done. Like it's gone. Like there's nothing else in it for me. Then the other aspect of it is like that whole. I mean, it's a character collector game,
Right.
and if CG all of a sudden shuts down and they stop updating stuff and they stop coming out with new characters, like even if they're astronomically insane, like these Galactic Legend characters are, I mean, they're going to take me 6 to 8 months to even possibly go after one. And if they stop even doing that, then I'm done as well, because the whole point of the game for me is to set these goals, these future goals for me to work towards. And you know, that's what I'm going after. If there's no future goals for me to work towards, then I have no incentive to play the game. And before Relics and before Gear 13 and before the Revens came out, I was almost reaching that. You know, I had a bunch of stuff at Gear 12. I had every legendary character unlocked. I had everything else going, and I was like, well, shit, where am I going to go after, you know, I have everything else unlocked? What am I going to do? You know, GAC hadn't come out yet. You know, I was kind of getting there. So if it gets to that point again, you know, GAC has made a huge difference in this game. But if it gets to that point again, then I would say those two things, is that if there's nothing to work towards and there's no community to interact with, then that's when I'm done.
So I want to dig into now, kind of shifting gears a bit. Something I think is really interesting about this group that we could dig into is sometimes there's feelings of separation between free to play and the very pay to play camp. Sometimes a sense of entitlement or a sense of for either camp, for one facet or another. And so I want to ask. We're going to ask the same question. We'll ask it a bit differently to both camps. And so Zach and Greedon, we're going to pair you guys together, and then Rambam and Quaid, you guys will be together on this one. So we'll start with the Kraken and Whales. Do you feel like it is fair that realistically in this game, a free-to-play player can compete with you in areas like Squad Arena?
Yeah, I do think that's fair, and I enjoy it, actually.
Cool. Tell me about that. I think that's refreshing to hear.
Well, so, I mean, there's many reasons for why that's my opinion. One, it needs to be a healthy game.
Yeah.
And so you need to have players of all levels. And two, I just enjoy the competition, whether it's from another Kraken or a Whale or a free to play. When I see guys climb up in the arena, Squad Arena, I've been playing for, over 4 years, and I see a new name. This guy's he's in the same arena shard. So he's been playing, he downloaded the game the same time I did.
Within days of you. Before. Yeah.
Yeah. And here he is. 4 years later, here he is in the top 10, and I enjoy that. And he come up with some wacky team like the Grievous Nuke team or whatever, you know, that's cheesy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I enjoy it. I'm like, oh, good for you, buddy. Yeah. And you know, but I like that part of the game anyway. I enjoy counters, like for GA TW. I like to set tough defense. I'll put all my meta.
I know you
and
do.
The only thing and the only thing I keep
Yeah.
is my counter squads,
Mm.
because those are funner to play. In all honesty, if you enjoy the actual act of playing a battle, it's funner to have to thread this needle with a counter team that's undergeared.
Yeah.
and you know, it's just harder and it's more fun.
So how would you respond then, Quaid or Rambam, either of you, how would you respond then to a free-to-play player who tends to feel like someone in your camp just wants to, it feels like they own the game or wants to stifle all the free-to-play, or that they don't feel like the game, they're not worthy to play the game? However, those negative, how would you respond to that kind of mindset towards the whales or krakens of the game?
I feel like to each their own, man. So like, you know, look, if you don't want to spend, don't spend, right? But don't be upset at people that do spend, or don't be upset at people who don't spend but are doing better than you. You know, every person does their own thing with this game, right? So if you want to go after a certain meta, you want to be completely free to play, go for it by all means. You know, bring on the competition. But if you want to spend, do that too. Whatever makes you happy. That's the great thing about this game, and really in any game. But you know, don't bring all that negativity to the community with it, because no one, whale, dolphin, free to play, kraken, no one wants to hear the negativity. No one likes it.
Let's shift to the free to play and dolphins here. Do you feel like it is fair that the krakens or whales can pay for an advantage in this game, and that they have a great advantage at times with characters like the Galactic Legends?
That's a bullshit question, Cubs.
Okay,
No way.
Come at me. I'm trying to ask the same question in reverse. Why is it?
No, I'm gonna go ahead. Go.
Here's the thing. I don't care how much money you spent. The only thing you bought was about a 3 to 6 month piece of time. That's what you actually bought with your money. That's it. You didn't buy any kind of automatic win button or an easy button. You didn't buy any kind of sense of entitlement. All you did was bought a little period of time where they have to wait to catch up to you.
So from your perspective as a heavy spender, and again, Quaid here, guys, I just want to reiterate, this is almost $100,000 of investment in this game. You could buy multiple Teslas with this. That's about half of my mortgage. You don't feel like you have you don't have an entitlement in this game to be better than someone who has spent zero. You don't have a sense of entitlement over Zach here, who spent nothing. You don't feel that way.
I don't feel that way. I mean, I know there are other people that do, but I think
not all krakens are created equal. But you do not feel that.
Let's put a little reality in here. We're playing a mobile game on our phones. If that is what it takes for you to feel like you have a set of balls and you're better than somebody, like there's something wrong with you, and you need to go get some help. Yeah, I mean that's my opinion.
I 100% agree with Quaid, right? You know, we're all buying time. We're not buying characters. We're not buying shards or whatever. We're buying time. You know, when JKR came out, the people who spent for them, spend them to get that character day one instead of 3 months down the road. Right. Mm-hmm. You bought the time that it took to save up for that character. You didn't buy the actual character.
Time is quite literally money in this game. So I think that's a really great interjection there. I'm glad you interrupted. I still want to let the Greedon and Zach take that question though. So from Quaid's perspective and from Rambam's perspective here, they do not feel that sense of entitlement. But let's say for a second you've got somebody who does. Do you think it's fair for them to feel that way, Zach? How do you guys feel about that?
I love it. I think that they. All right, so that might be a little outside crazy, but I mean they should, right? So I have spent nothing in 4 years of playing this game. I've spent absolutely nothing,
right?
And but you know why I've been able to play this game for 4 years is because Quaid has spent $95,000 on it.
Right.
The game would have died 3.5 years ago, it would have either died or I would have to click an ad every time I wanted to farm a character. If
So Quaid is your ad block.
Yeah, I mean,
Thanks,
let's be
Quaid.
real.
Yeah, there you go.
The $1 billion didn't come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. So I love this game because they have enabled me to be able to play this game and get enjoyment and get, involvement in the community and get everything out of this game that I've gotten because they have spent money. And of course they should gain an advantage because of that. And if you're free to play and you don't think that it's fair that someone spends money on this game and has an advantage over you, then you are living in a different reality. Somebody who spends money, whether it be a dolphin, a whale, a kraken, it doesn't matter. If they spend any money and you haven't spent anything, of course they're going to have an advantage over you. And that's the challenge of the game. If you're free to play, the whole point of the game to be free to play is to try and figure out how to counter the dolphins and the whales. You're probably not going to counter a kraken, but you're going to figure out the other two, and you're going to figure out, and you're going to watch YouTube videos. You're going to get involvement in the community.
Yes, watch YouTube videos. Good
Yeah,
idea.
you're going to watch Cubs YouTube videos, and you're going to figure out.
And you will like them.
You're going to press the like button, and you're going to increase the algorithm so that YouTube puts his videos at the top.
I think that's a really healthy comment that you made there, Zach, especially coming from a free-to-play player. I appreciate that perspective. Thanks for sharing that.
Can I add something to that?
Please, yeah, go on.
So, that's true. The Krakens and the whales spend a lot of money, and that is, I think, a huge part of the revenue of the game. However, in my opinion, we have a large player base of free to play in dolphins, and if you have 500 people spend $1,000, or if you have 10,000 people buy that $9.99 pack, I would argue that probably makes them a little bit more money, honestly.
Okay.
All in all.
So let me clarify that from a math perspective. You're absolutely right. The Krakens don't fund the game. We'll go with Mr. YouTuber Darth Microtransaction. Like, it is not the Krakens that fund the $1 billion game. It is the $2 packs and the hyperdrive bundle and it is the people spending.
I'll correct you both. It's both. It's both.
Right. Okay.
It's both.
Of course.
It's the fact that the Kraken.
Spread.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the fact that it is the between free to play and dolphins that fund the $1 billion CG account. It is the $5 packs here and there from over 1 million players that play this game that are funding the free to play.
Absolutely.
But the Krakens help.
The Krakens and the whales definitely help because they're the ones that's going to buy any pack that CG drops in the store.
Yeah. So another question, and this will be directed more toward especially Quaid. How would you respond, or how do you feel when somebody would approach your camp of spending and automatically assume that you have some kind of problem, some kind of addiction, and that the amount that you've spent is just sad or repulsive? How would you respond to that?
You hit the nail on the head. I smoke heavily. I drink heavily. I am an adrenaline junkie. If you're gonna judge me, my work, I'm a lineman. I deal with live power lines every day so that everybody can turn their lights on and off. People in my profession die on a monthly basis. I like to go cliff. Like to climb cliffs. That's one of my hobbies. Backpacking, hiking. I like fast cars. I'm an adrenaline junkie. So yeah, maybe. But I mean, I would like to add up all the money I spent on fast food. Or all the money I've spent on, alcohol and cigarettes and
over the last
drugs.
4 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. If you want to say I have a problem, go ahead. If that makes you feel better.
Nope. Let me throw in something there. Let me throw in something there because I'm right there with you, and I think that I would have spent money on this game because I love it, and I love the community, and I love Star Wars, and I love everything about it. Because I'm also an adrenaline junkie, and I'm a Marine, and I'm an EOD tech, hence the name, which means for those of you out there who don't know what that means, I defuse bombs for a living.
Yeah.
Adrenaline junkie right there. Yeah, I can't think of any more
in foreign
gentlemen.
countries. And I've been rock climbing and
Yeah.
backpacking for about almost 20 years now. And so I'm right there with you. And I think that I think that there is. I completely understand where you're coming from. I think it's almost a means.
Has anyone here?
I don't have the means to do it.
I apologize if this is too personal, but anyone here who's spent, have you ever considered your spending on this game a problem?
Never.
No.
Okay.
If you want to get personal. So like,
Yeah.
I save for my retirement first every week when I get paid. I pay all my bills, all my credit cards are paid up every week. And then with my expendable income, that's what I spend on this game. I work in an area of about 4 or 5 states. I am a mobile person, and so a mobile game fits me very well. Yeah, I can't lug around my PlayStation 4 everywhere. I mean, it just doesn't
Well, you
work.
could get a Nintendo Switch, but that's not here.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but no, it just fits my lifestyle, and so yeah, it wound up working for me, and I do. Yeah, I could spend less money, and I have been spending less money the past couple of years because I don't really feel the need to spend that money. But
Rambam, you were quick to answer too. Quaid got first the punch. You said no, not a problem.
No, and I think most of the player base is, if they do spend, it's because they're spending within their means. I don't think anybody's going out there and they're spending stuff that they don't have. They do it because they like the game, they like the community, they love Star Wars in general, and some people actually get a feeling of a thrill out of hey, I'm going to get this character before anyone else. So it's not. It's less of people are saying, oh yeah, you're going to spend and you don't have that money. No, it's our money. We worked hard for it. Let us choose what we do with it. If this is what we do with it, rather than going out and drinking and smoking every night, what's the difference?
Well, that's something that Fulbright mentioned.
This is safer.
Fulbright talked about that in our last chat, that this is something that has replaced bad habits before, and that has made his marriage stronger and that kind of thing. And so I think it's a good chance to reiterate once again that just because somebody spends a lot of money on the game does not mean there's a problem. Do some people have a problem that spend on this game? Sure. But you don't know. You don't know, and it sounds like right here that's not the case.
I just want to give my perspective real quick
go ahead.
from like the free
Dolphin perspective. Let's go.
No.
That's free to play.
Look at that. Look at that.
Oh, yours is
face.
Look at the cute little baby.
The dolphin keeps lighting up. The dolphin keeps lighting up too. So
I'm the
keep
happy
mixing it up.
dolphin.
Free to play perspective.
Look at that beautiful baby face. Right. So, the way I see it is that I don't think there's a problem with whales or dolphins or krakens from perspective, because if they did have a problem, you'd see them drop from arena. So when you see those top 50 people staying there, and they've stayed there for 3 years, clearly they're living within their means. So I think that they are absolutely doing whatever they need to do to make themselves happy.
Yeah, if you're spending on that level and it's not something you can afford, maybe you'll be there for a couple months, 6 months,
and you're going to see them drop away from arena.
But eventually it'll catch up to you.
Yeah, when I see the same 5 people that in arena all the time, clearly they're living within their means, and I don't think that there is anyone in this game that should ever judge anyone in top
there's
50
no value.
Or arena.
No, I mean, I like what Quaid said. Like, if you want to view me that way, fine, I don't care. But it's not gonna. There's no value to that. So one final question I want to ask as a point of discussion, especially for the spenders, but Zach, you can answer this too if you want. How would you guys feel about your investment? I'm most interested to hear Quaid's perspective on this and Rambam's. But how would you feel about your investment if CG announced that tomorrow the game is going to be closed down?
Ooh.
Okay, so I wouldn't be upset, right? And it's not because, oh yeah, I put all this money and effort into the game. It's not because of that, sure, whatever. But it's more because I enjoy playing the game. I love this community. I love the game. And so I'd be upset that, this constant that I've been playing the game every day for the last 3.5 years. So this constant that I've had in there, just suddenly going away, that is what would,
So
make
for
me
you,
upset.
the financial consideration is not what you're thinking about. You're thinking about the community and you're thinking about the love for the game.
Exactly. That's what I
Fascinating.
would miss.
Quaid?
Yeah, I would. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Greeting, you go ahead first. Then we'll
Okay.
get Quaid.
Okay, I was just gonna say I'd just echo that. Like honestly, if they just said the game was done tomorrow, I mean, don't get me wrong. To some extent, I'd be like, oh, that's a bummer. I put some money into that, but that's not where my mind would go immediately by any means. I would try and find a way to keep my guild together and keep the chat going and see if there's any way to keep that community together, because I've
Wow.
grown to love so many of these people that I play with every single day, and I've dedicated so much of my life to and time of my life. I'd be more upset about that for sure. I'd be a little annoyed about the money aspect, but I mean minimally. It would be vastly outweighed by the aspect of losing the game, possibly losing the community, losing the guild, maybe, depending on what happened there. But I'd be much more upset about that rather than the financial investment.
Yep, I got a third of that there. I mean, I have nothing invested but time, and obviously time is money, but it's time for enjoyment. And the biggest downfall would be the loss of the community. I mean, sitting up and watching all these live streams of GAC and talking with Cubs and all the patrons and my guild and everyone else out there, like that is it's almost more than 50% of the enjoyment of the game. I mean, the game is amazing, but this community is great, and talking with things that have absolutely almost nothing to do with Star Wars sometimes is even better.
A lot of times, yeah.
I mean, Cubs, I hit up the patron chat for fishing last night. Like, it has nothing to do with it.
And not everyone here is a patron, by the way, but Zach is. So.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But, and if you're not a patron, you should be.
Shameless plug.
Because,
Thanks, Zach.
Hey, right, so let's go to that real quick. For 2 seconds, I've never spent a dime on this game, but you know what I spend money on? I spend money on Patreon, and I spend money on supporting YouTubers that make content for this game, because that's where the community's at, and that's where the money really matters. Sorry, everyone else spent money on this game, because I spend money on content creators. But it's great, and I would be extremely upset if the game died tomorrow.
For that reason. Okay, Quaid, you're the last one.
If you're gonna spend money on YouTube content creators, I just started a channel. You should come to my channel. You can spend a little money.
Did you really, Quaid?
I'll be right there. Send me the link. I'll be there.
That's sweet. That's sweet.
Yeah, I did. So in this hypothetical where they just turn the lights off on a $1 billion game, I mean, yeah, it would be the community. At the Mace and I are in Shadowlands Alliance, and it's the best alliance out there in my opinion. The community is great. We have we're on, like, in our alliance, we're on voice chat every day. You'll see.
I can second that. I've observed that.
Yeah, 25 people in voice chat every day.
Yeah.
Just talking about the game or just talking about whatever, and it's, I feel like those guys are as close to friends as can be, over a Discord can be, and especially over a 4-year period, you get to know people pretty well, people you've never met, and it's amazing. And that's where my mind goes if you're going to talk about the end of the game.
Wow.
But probably what would happen is we'd find a different game to go to, I would imagine.
So I want to. I think this is a great spot. Sorry, did you have one more thing to add?
Yeah, I do have one more thing to add.
Go ahead.
And this is just a little my OCD. So the word investment, that implies a monetary return, and I feel uncomfortable using that. Like, to me, it's better to think of that. It's like loaning money to a friend. Don't ever. It's not a loan. It's a gift. Don't expect that money back. Otherwise, the friendship will probably be over. So
Okay.
I consider it like setting fire to it and throwing it out the window. That's how I think of it.
So I think this is a great spot to end our conversation, guys. And I do, for anyone who stayed for this whole video, tell me if you stayed for the whole video. By the way, we're at 40 minutes in our recording now, much longer than a normal video. But I think that the conversation is good enough that I'm gonna leave the whole thing in there. And it kind of flew by for me. I just looked at it, I was like, wow, we're at 40 minutes. But I want to just round this out and say something that I think is really cool that I love that came out of this conversation. When you getting serious here, you really find out, I think, who somebody is or what matters to them. If, say, that person was on their deathbed and they're gonna, say their last words or give some advice to loved ones or family members. And we just heard a similar scenario for the game, right? If the game were to die, what matters to you? And what matters to these four gentlemen here is exactly the same thing. And so to me, I think sometimes people feel like there's a big division in this community between those who spend, those who don't spend, those who spend ridiculous amounts, those who spend moderate amounts. But really, how different are they when we play this game for the same reasons? We would be devastated about this game going away for the same reasons, regardless of the dollar amount next to our username or our arena rank, etc. It's for the love of the game. It's for the love of the community. I think that is what makes Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes so great, the best game I have ever played, and why I'm honored to say it is my career right now to cover this game on YouTube for you guys. Guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me for this chat. I think it was a great chat. This is something I want to do on a regular basis. If you guys still enjoy this, again, let us know down in the comments below. So thank you so much, guys. Thanks for joining.
Hey, thank you, Cubs.
Thanks for having me, Cubs. I appreciate it.
Who wants to have the honor of saying it? And as always, my brothers, don't forget. I'll let somebody do it.
As always, my brothers, and don't forget. Yes, I wanted to do that so bad.
That was good.
Nice. Good job.